Okay, so got it. Okay, so to begin, my name is Patrick Halecki. I'm a citizen of the United States. I'm a native speaker. I was born and raised there. My teaching experience started when I was at university. I was part of a program which taught foreign students online. Okay, these were potential students who wanted to attend my university as well as enrolled students. And in addition to that, I also did some teaching on the side. So I had some paid clients in Europe. So this is how my experience began. And then I graduated university in the May of 2021 with a bachelor's degree. And then in the fall of 2021, I completed my CELTA. I completed my CELTA at Teaching House, New York, obviously in New York City. And then I applied for my first in-person job in the Russian Federation, where I am right now. I have been teaching here since January. And regarding what I do here, I do everything. I teach students of all levels, of all ages, groups and individuals. Groups vary by size. Maximum, I think it was 15, although there were some classes where I had about 20. And of course, minimum, I had individuals to teach. And regarding workload, the minimum was 20 hours a week, but I never taught for 20 hours. It was always more than that because I was either substituting, I had the opportunity for an extra individual, or I was doing some kind of overtime work with a group, for example, an exam. I helped with exam preparation, such as the TOEFL, various Cambridge exams, as well as some Russian exams, which regard the English language. So in the briefest summary I can give, this is my experience. Obviously, I'm not very old. I'm only 23, so I do not have a book to discuss, but I do feel very comfortable with teaching English. Obviously, there's a different way that I approach different students. Of course, I have to be patient, but this is something that comes naturally to me. I am understanding of mistakes that students make, and I always try my best to ensure that they understand the material, be it grammar, vocabulary, or anything else they have trouble with. I also forgot to mention that I have done a lot of so-called speaking clubs. Okay, this is at the school where I'm teaching. Speaking clubs are an opportunity for native speakers to just have discussions with students or potential students from the area. So this has helped me to help people improve their speaking as well as listening because they listen to me. So yes, regarding my experience, that's what I've done. Although I will just add that regarding teaching in general, I was also a summer camp coordinator while I was at university, and there I dealt with younger children. Most of them were non-English speakers. They were from families from Latin America, so I also attained experience there. So yes, that's a brief summary of my experience and my journey in the TEFL world.
Okay, all right. So, Mr. Tell me about what do you know about Saudi Arabia and why are you interested in teaching there?
Right, so regarding Saudi Arabia, of course, it's a very prestigious country. Not only in the TEFL world, but in general, it's a regional power. It's one of the most powerful countries on earth because of the amount of power it has thanks to their petroleum. But I also understand that they are going through reforms. And as a result, this is a country which really has a lot to say. Of course, it is an Arabic speaking country. I do not speak Arabic, but I hope to learn it eventually. And I understand that, of course, there are some things that I would need to adjust to. The culture is very different than what I am used to, although um, I have been introduced to it simply through research. I understand the positives, the negatives, and I also understand that it is the desert, so I will miss the snow. But of course, I think it is nice that the weather is warm for the most part, and when it is hot, there's always air conditioning. So yes, of course, I have not been there yet, so I cannot talk from the perspective of someone who's there in person, but I have done extensive research regarding the cost of living, the quality of life. I understand there are many Americans who live there for various purposes, English teachers, as well as workers in the petroleum industry. And there's a lot of cultural exchange because the United States and Saudi Arabia have very close ties. And it's also one of the reasons why I want to apply. I understand that, you know, our two countries, as in America and Saudi Arabia, are very close, and this kind of exchange is very well received. Um, so that's what I would say about Saudi Arabia.
Okay, right. So, what strategies do you use to make your class more interesting and meaningful to your students?
Of course, it depends on the age groups and the level. For teenagers, the trick is just to keep them um, is just to get them to pay attention, because I understand that it can be difficult sometimes, especially because I teach at a private school. So sometimes they are only there because their parents want them to be there. So what do I do? Of course, the first thing I always do is try to understand the interests of the students, why they're learning English. Of course, with adults, this is much more practical because adults will tell you the truth, and I will always try to focus my lesson on the subject. I will give you an example. Where I teach right now, it is the auto capital of Russia. This is where they produce cars, different kinds of automobiles. So a lot of my students are workers at the plants, at the factories, and they want for my classes to pertain to the automobile industry. So in addition to teaching business English, which I do, I also have to talk about cars, and I will tell you, I'm not a huge fan of cars. It's not my interest, but I have to, you know, do what the students would like to do regarding their interests. And I'm talking about adults. With teenagers, of course, it's more complicated. They're interested in shows and hobbies, which, I haven't done in years, but I still do it. And it is so difficult sometimes to get a student's attention once you've lost them. So it is very important to keep them engaged. Having promises is a good idea, like games at the end of class if they cooperate with the assignment, especially if it's a difficult assignment. Um, and, if it's a good book, what I mean by that is if I'm using a book with good subject matters, I always make it that the subject matter pertains to my students. So if it's about culture, I talk about Russian culture with them or American culture, just so that they can stay interested and so that the subject pertains to what they're there for, which is to learn English and to also kind of teach me about, the country that I'm in. So yes, interests are important, but also teaching techniques are important. When I teach a specific topic, I have to remember the level that I'm dealing with. On that account, I will just say that B1, B2, and C1 are the main classes I have dealt with. And although they are similar, they're very different when it comes to how I make a lesson plan, when it comes to how I try to keep them interested. So of course, I have developed several tricks, I suppose, to keep the students engaged, and most importantly, to ensure that the students understand the material. And they vary, but for the most part, it just comes down to um, get the students interested, keep them interested, engage them. Okay, so I shouldn't talk, they should talk. This is why it's important for them to stay interested to the relevant topic. And finally, make sure that the class is comfortable. What I mean by that is it's very, in my opinion, and I know a lot of English teachers share this opinion, it's easy to scare off students. It's very easy to get them disengaged because they feel like they don't belong in the classroom, maybe because they feel like they're not interested in English anymore. So it is very crucial for me to keep them interested so that they can succeed in their goal of improving their English.
All right.